Well, it finally happened. Steve Bannon just dropped the kind of bomb that makes the world stop scrolling. One sentence, 10 seconds, and every newsroom from DC to London went into full-blown meltdown. He didn't whisper it, he declared it. Trump 2028. And the look on those journalists' faces, it was pure panic. Because this wasn't just some one-off cuff joke. This was strategy, spiritual, political, and deliberate. Steve Bannon called it divine providence. He said President Trump is an instrument of destiny and the mission isn't finished. So while the media mocked, while bureaucrats squirmed, Bannon lit a fuse that's still burning tonight. He tied Trump's comeback plan to America's survival itself. Border chaos, deep state corruption, the fight for freedom, and he dared the world to stop it. So tonight, we're going to break down exactly what Steve Bannon meant, why his words sent shockwaves across the globe, and how President Trump's 2028 strategy could change everything from the border to the ballot box forever. So hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, when Steve Bannon uttered the words Trump 2028, it wasn't just another headline. This was a digital detonation. Within minutes, clips of the interview, they exploded across X, Rumble, Twitter, Truth Social. I mean, the Economist reporters sat frozen, guys, as if they were just witnessing the political equivalent of an earthquake. Now, Bannon, he didn't hedge. He declared there is a plan, that President Trump will serve again when America needs him the most. Memes flooded timelines. Media spun this into panic mode. The message was clear. Trump's story isn't over. In fact, the mission isn't complete. And for millions of patriots that are watching online, Steve Bannon didn't just start a conversation. He reignited a movement that refuses to die. This was not speculation. This was prophecy in real time. Drop a 2028 if you support this movement. Now, it's October 2025, halfway through President Trump's second term, and America stands at a fork in the road right now. Inflation is finally cooling, wages are rising, and factories hum again. But the global tension is mounting. Beijing's probing trade barriers, Brussels is begging for new tariff exemptions, and the border remains a battlefield of policy and politics. Now, inside the White House, victories are piling up. Energy independence restored, taxes slashed for small businesses. The dollar is stronger than it has been in years. Yet, Bannon's 2028 warning cuts through the successes like lightning. Why talk about a third term now unless the fight ahead is bigger than one presidency, right? Now, the sense of unfinished business hangs very heavy at this point. Trump may be winning today, but Bannon's message implies something deeper. America's destiny is still on the line. Now, before we go any further, let me ask you something very important. Ask yourself this. Is your Medicare plan helping your retirement or is it hurting your retirement? Because the wrong plan doesn't just confuse you, it quietly eats away at your savings year after year. This is why I partner with Chapter. They make Medicare strengthen your retirement instead of draining it. Now, one of our viewers, she told me, Chapter saved me thousands. My Medicare plan was finally working for me now. So let me ask again, do you want your retirement drained or do you want to do what most people already are and protect it? Now, most people are dialing the phone number on the bottom of your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. And I also want to share what other people are saying. Terrence D. Scott's 990, he said, just wanted to say thank you for Chapter. They saved me $60 a month. Christmas A 8728 left us a comment saying, Chapter takes very little time and effort. Mother is saving dollars. I love it. I wonder how much your parents could save. Now, every political analyst in Washington nearly choked on their coffee when Steve Bannon dropped the phrase Trump 2028. Immediately, the conversation turned constitutional. Could a president who served non-consecutive terms like Trump legally return for a third term? Well, 22nd Amendment states no one can be elected more than twice. But Bannon hints that there are different interpretations. Meaning, legal scholars are debating right now whether a constitutional challenge, congressional clarification, or even a national convention could revisit that clause if the American people demanded it. Drop a yes down below if you think President Trump should legally be allowed to serve a third term. Drop a no if you disagree. Now, look at the comments and see what people are saying right now, guys. He wasn't laying out paperwork. He was testing the resolve. The deeper question isn't can Trump serve again? The deeper question should be, should the movement stop short of completion because of some red tape? Now, Steve Bannon's provocation pretty much forces Americans to confront whether the Constitution was written to limit tyranny or to protect liberty itself. Now, when Steve Bannon called Trump a vehicle of divine providence, the mainstream press mocked it as messianic nonsense. Now, for millions of Americans watching this clip, it resonated. The phrase wasn't about worship, it was about purpose, okay? Steve Bannon's argument is that President Trump's rise, his survival through investigations, impeachments, assassinations, endless media assaults. It defies probability. Now, in his view, that is not coincidence. This is clearly destiny. The left hears extremism. Bannon calls it faith in God's timing. So whether you see it as spiritual or strategic, the message lands. Trump's mission isn't over because America's moral and political war isn't over. Now, Bannon's divine framing wasn't for applause. It was psychological warfare against the elites who think that they've already won. He's reminding them the movement answers to a higher authority than their institutions, if you know what I'm saying. Now, the Economist interview, it became a masterclass in control chaos. Now, you had two polished journalists armed with charts and condensation sat across from Steve Bannon, expecting to corner him, but instead he detonated their narrative. When he said Trump 2028, they froze, their polite smiles collapsing into visible panic. CNN and MSNBC called it unhinged, but beneath their outrage was fear. Fear that MAGA wasn't fading, but institutionalizing. In fact, legacy media has built an entire empire on portraying Trump as temporary chaos. Yet here was Bannon calmly predicting MAGA's next evolution, a political doctrine, if you will, that will outlive the media itself. The meltdown wasn't about one man's statement. It was about a dying establishment realizing that it no longer controls the conversation. Now, the old gatekeepers saw their monopoly shatter, and Bannon smiled because that was the point. Bannon's follow-up message was surgical. If Trump's going to finish the mission, so to speak, then the deep state had to be dismantled piece by piece. He wasn't speaking in metaphors. Unelected bureaucrats, intelligence insiders, and global NGOs, he called them the permanent class, the machine that's been blocking reform, leaking from within, and weaponizing policy against the American voter. Even now, Trump's 2025 Justice Department, it is auditing bloated agencies like the IRS, for example, exposing decades of collusion between political donors and foreign interests. Every revelation proves Bannon correct. The system protects itself first. This is why 2028 isn't about egos, it's about eradication. The deep state won't surrender quietly. Its power depends on fatigue, on making patriots give up. But Bannon's warning is clear. Crush the machine now or be ruled by it forever. Now, when Bannon talks about finishing the mission, he's not just referring to bureaucracy. He's talking about the border. The Southern Front remains a test of national will. Despite major progress under President Trump's renewed directives, new walls, revived remain in Mexico, mass deportations, the crisis persists, fueled by cartels and weak state enforcement. Fentanyl continues crossing in record volume, killing Americans faster than any war in modern history. Bannon frames this not as humanitarian debate, but as an existential one. A nation without borders isn't a nation. It's the line that President Trump built his presidency on, and Bannon's 2028 warning ties directly to it. If the wall falls, so does sovereignty. MAGA's border fight isn't xenophobia, it's survival. Without border security, even economic, cultural, and constitutional victory becomes a temporary illusion. So, while the media obsesses over personalities, Bannon zeroes in on production. Economic warfare is political warfare. He said repeatedly, and 2025 proves it. Trump's tariff expansion have reshaped the global market, forcing China and Europe back to the negotiating table. American factories roar again, trade deficits shrink, and millions of blue-collar jobs have returned back home. Now, critics are calling it isolationism. Bannon calls it independence. The 2028 plan, as he frames it, is about solidifying economic sovereignty, decoupling from global supply chains that hold America hostage. Now, the MAGA economy isn't trickle down, it's build up. Reindustrialization, energy dominance, and domestic capital control form the foundation of what he calls America First 2.0. Now, the battle isn't over profit, it's over permanence. Economic revival, Bannon says, is the cornerstone of political freedom. Now, to Bannon, the MAGA movement was never meant to die with one presidency. It was meant to take root. He calls it the Great Realignment, and it's already happening. Across America, Trump-aligned candidates, they're already winning school board races, they're flipping local councils, and they're reshaping universities that once mocked them. Now, it's not just politics anymore, folks. This is infrastructure. Media networks, financial institutions, and legal nonprofits, they are emerging with one goal: to outlast the establishment. Now, Bannon's 2028 warning isn't about Trump cleaning the power. No, it is about MAGA becoming permanent. He sees Trump as the founder, not the finisher. So whether it's J.D. Vance or Kerry Lake or Byron Donalds, the next generation of America First leaders is rising. Now, the real message is, even if the man retires, the mission doesn't. MAGA roots are now institutional and they're irreversible. Bannon calls the culture the software of civilization, and he argues that America has been corrupted. From classrooms that are pushing identity politics to tech companies that are silencing dissent, the culture war isn't symbolic, it is systemic. Trump's second term brought back patriotic education, religious liberty protections, and parental rights in schools, but the opposition doubled down. Bannon's 2028 framework fuses politics and faith together. Rebuild the moral backbone first, then the economy follows. Faith, family, and freedom. He says they're not slogans, they are survival codes. He sees the left's obsession with control as spiritual decay, not just ideology. And as he links Trump's leadership to divine purpose, Bannon paints the movement as a national restoration effort. The battlefield isn't Congress, it's the conscience of a country that has forgotten who it is. Now, the tremors from Bannon's statement didn't stop at America's borders, they rippled all the way across the globe. In Europe, headlines screamed Trump 2028, a global nightmare. Meanwhile, China's state media accused the U.S. of returning to economic nationalism. Canada's Justin Trudeau called it deeply concerning, and Brussels insiders warned that another Trump term would end the era of globalist consensus for good. Even NATO officials quietly admitted that they're preparing for strategic realignment. So, what's fueling the panic here? Power. Under Trump, America stopped apologizing for its strength, and Bannon's remarks signal that that strength isn't temporary. The foreign elite fear what they cannot control, and America, fully independent, untethered from their trade dependence and climate pacts, for decades they managed America. Under MAGA, America manages them, and they know that it's not over yet. So what does this finishing the mission really look like? Well, Bannon's clues point to a 2028 blueprint for national renewal. It begins with government reform, restructuring federal agencies, decentralizing power, and restoring accountability. Next comes economic sovereignty, bringing essential industries back home to the United States, taxing, outsourcing, and punishing corporations that betray American workers. Then constitutional preservation, ensuring free speech, border enforcement, and election integrity become non-negotiable pillars of policy. So whether Trump leads the charge or passes the torch on, the framework remains. America First must become America forever. Bannon's plan isn't just about the next election. It is about securing the republic for the next century. We're not repeating history. This is what he said just recently. We're rewriting it. 2028 isn't the end of MAGA. It is the beginning of something permanent. Now, Bannon's warnings didn't just energize supporters, it terrified his opponents. Within days, Democratic PACs began pumping millions into lawsuits designed to drain Trump's 2028 war chest before the campaign even exists. Blue state governors are coordinating with legacy media to frame every policy success as authoritarian. And of course, social media algorithms have quietly reverted to shadow banning conservative pages again. Federal judges appointed under previous administrations are dragging their feet on Trump's executive reforms, hoping delay can do what elections could not do. But the most powerful weapon isn't the courtroom, it's fatigue. The establishment is betting that the MAGA base will grow tired before the mission finishes. Now, Bannon knows this playbook all too well. In fact, their plan is simple: stall, smear, and silence. His counterplan? Endurance. Stay loud, stay organized, never quit. If MAGA falters, the machine returns. Steve Bannon warned this. His tone is unshakably grave. It wasn't theater, it was prophecy. If the movement fractures under pressure, America's progress collapses undernight. Borders reopen, manufacturing flees, censorship expands, globalists reclaim the treasury and rewrite trade back to benefiting Beijing and not Birmingham, Alabama. Bureaucrats go back to spying, taxing, and silencing those who dare to dissent. Every sacrifice, the rallies, the persecution, the years of fighting, gone in an instant. Bannon's message isn't about fear, it's about vigilance. He's reminding Americans that freedom is perishable and complacency is the enemy's best friend. In fact, the deep state doesn't have to win a battle. It just has to wait for patriots to get comfortable. So if the movement loses focus, well, the swamp doesn't drain. It refills very fast. Now, Bannon's words echo louder today than when he said them. We have to finish what we started. Now, this wasn't about extending power. This is about preserving a nation that nearly lost itself. 2028 isn't isn't just another election. It's America's final stress test. Can a republic survive when its institutions fight its own people? Can freedom outlast the bureaucrats who fear it? Trump's presidency reignited the American spirit. Let's be real, right, guys? Bannon's warning really reminded us, spirit alone is not enough. It must be guarded, built into every policy, every home, every generation. So whether it's Trump leading the charge or the next wave of America First leaders, the mission is the same. Restore faith, rebuild sovereignty, and reignite destiny. Because if we stop now, America doesn't just lose an election, it loses itself. Hit the like button, share this video. We'll see you. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.